Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be joining you today for this very short session. I know I only have 20 minutes, so I'm not going to spend too much time introducing myself, but my name is Dr. Socorro Herrera. I'm at Kansas State University, and I am thrilled to be invited to join you today to share a little bit about biography-driven instruction. You know, in my heart and soul, I do believe that art teachers are the window to the soul of every child in every classroom across the country. You have a tendency to, or a gift, not a tendency, a gift to be able to reach children that oftentimes classroom teachers have a difficult time with. And particularly with culturally and linguistically diverse students who may not have the language to really express themselves, they find this avenue in the art classroom where they're opening up and being able to express through color and through texture and through manipulating materials. And so I'm excited that you've joined me today to enter into a conversation. I look forward to the questions that you have. I hope that you leave excited and ready to go back into the classroom, whether it be virtual or face-to-face as we begin the new year. So let me share with you a little bit about our session today. It is titled, and it's coming up, "You Are the One We've Been Waiting For." Why did I decide to title it, "You Are the One We've Been Waiting For"? Well, because oftentimes as educators, we're waiting for someone to come from the outside and to give us this new and exciting, technique or this strategy that we can use in the classroom, or maybe we're waiting for a brand new curriculum, when really at the end of the day, we have everything at our fingertips. We have everything in the decisions that we make every day to be able to move learning forward, whether it's virtually or whether it's face-to-face. We are the key. We are the superpowers that move and set conditions in the classrooms to move forward. And so today's session is titled "Healing Through Art, a Biography-Driven Perspective." And healing, what does that mean? Well, we've had this crisis of COVID-19, and we've had to make some very difficult adjustments as teachers, and our learners in some instances have made even greater adjustments than we have. And then we've had the George Floyd, circumstances that have surrounded our nation, and the pain that has brought forth to the surface. And so I think for our nation and for our classrooms and for us as human beings, as teachers, healing is something that is going to take place. And it's going to take place through this dialogue, through this connections that we make, through the opportunities we make to open up these equitable spaces for every child in every classroom across the country. The work that I've been doing for over 40 years, but really researching for the last 25 years, has been biography-driven instruction. Biography, you're going to learn, is learning about the sociocultural, socio-emotional, linguistic, cognitive, and academic dimensions of the learner. So let's get started and move into that as we move forward. As art teachers, if you had one wish to make, if you had one thing to put forth to the genie that was going to grant you this wish, and you asked yourself, what are my hopes, what are my aspirations for the students that I teach as I go back into the classroom or continue in this virtual mode? What is it that I want for every single child in every single home and in every single classroom, and particularly my classroom? And then what role do we play as teachers, or what role do I play in the ebb and flow of art as a tool for expression and healing? So we see art oftentimes in our classrooms as the specials. Send our kids to the specials. But really the interconnectedness that is there between art teacher and grade level teacher and content teacher and family and child is so immense. There's so many ways that our lives intersect with art in the content areas, in math, in science, in reading, in and social studies. And there's so many opportunities for us to have what's happening in the classroom with the trauma and the socio-emotional and the behavior come to the classroom where we teach art, and it become a place where we provide this space and these opportunities for the learner to just grow, to just share, to just express with the many tools that we have available. So what would your wish for your child be in the particular classroom? I wanted to share just a little bit about me, because for me, the color in the world, the color of nature, the color of my mother's yarn, the color of my mother's threads as she sewed, as the fabrics that she sewed together, so represent. And so I think that oftentimes when we use art as with healing powers, we need to be able to not only see ourselves and how it is that in the world we're represented through this art and through this action and through this language that we use. And so I'm just kind of bathe you a little bit with who I am and where I'm from. I'm going to read you a poem that kind of gives you a little bit of sense of where I'll be coming from today. I am from El Palote, from Para las Tortillas, from Fabuloso en El Vix, from cold showers and very, very red roses, the smell of cotton fields early in the morning. I am from every night a rosary on my knees, para darle gracias a Dios por otro día, because after all, there is always a higher power within the homes that I was in most of my life. And dichos and chismes, because we always have to know what the neighbor is doing, from Esther Jaques and Gilberto Herrera, and Los Herreras. I am from humor and faith and family party every weekend. From El dinero no es la vida, because there's more to life than money. From no seas burro, estudia. Studying is your opening of doors for the future. I am from faith to let go of fear. I am from Coyame, fideos en Chile Colorado. From tu abuelo era alemán y tu abuela era India, and sadness in my mother's eyes. I am from the memory I carry in my mind of the past that is silent to the pain it might reveal, the lack of pictures and the hopes and dreams of the present. So think about that as I share work from students that are so completely tied to revealing those deep sociocultural dimensions of who they are, what they see in the world, and how they connect that to their life in schools. For me, art is the springboard of expression. It's the springboard of language. It's the springboard of the intonation and rhythm of the English language for those children that don't speak English. It is the point of departure for gaining access to what it means to learn in a public school setting. So think about it. Think about the ecology, not the environment in the classroom, but the ecology, the color and the spirit and the voices, the connections that we make. And ask yourself, when I walk down the halls in schools, or when I look at the refrigerators in my family's homes, where is it that art intersects with that ecology, with that atmosphere, with that feeling that surrounds our space where we teach and learn? And in what ways is it representative of culturally sustaining pedagogy? Where I see the cotton fields on the walls, where I see the workspaces of the families of my students, where I see their homes, their fabrics, their traditions. Where is it that not for one day, but year-long intersects? One of my favorite quotes out of Bruce Perry's book, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, that tells some pretty heavy-duty stories, but at the same time reminds us of the power that we have as teachers, and particularly as art teachers. I'm going to read it to you. It says, "Fire can warm or consume, water can quench or drown. Wind can caress or cut, and so it is with human relationships. We can both create and destroy, nurture and terrorize, traumatize and heal each other. I hope I get some questions. And so think about it that in human relationships, when we bring art into the picture, when we bring visuals, when we bring those hands-on activities, those fabrics, those textures that kids are used to, how is it that that helps us connect to the sociocultural factors, the prior knowledge of the learner, the affective filter, those anxieties that the learner might be having? Think of how it is that it connects to the socio-emotional factors. Socio-emotionally, we are beings that take in the color and the feeling and the smell of the experiences that we have daily, and they burst within us because we want to just put them out into the world. We want people to understand how we're feeling, what we're seeing, what we're thinking. And it is through art that we could provide those opportunities. It is through art that we see potential sometimes that we haven't seen before. How often has the teacher said to me, you know, when we started doing Listen, Sketch, Label, where students were bathed in a story or in a poem, or I shared a word and I asked them to sketch it, oh, what they taught me about what they had heard and how they had interpreted, what schema it had brought forth that they could present to me, and the detail that was presented without words. Because it is through those conditions that we get to the vocabulary and the language production and the academics of learning. So I'm hoping that you're thinking and writing and posing some questions, because I hate to talk to the computer. I feel like, oh my gosh, is anyone out there? And I know right now no one's out there because I'm just basically talking to the computer. So let's talk about biography-driven instruction, as if it was the day of the session and you were sending me some questions. Biography-driven instruction. Well, what does that mean? You talked about that word earlier. Well, biography-driven instruction means that we set the conditions within our art classrooms to attend to the biopsychosocial history of the learner. And what is the biopsychosocial history? That is the entirety of what makes a child who he or she is. It is what surrounds them socioculturally in their life, what it is that brings joy to them in nature, in their homes, in the classrooms, in our schools. It is how love is defined for them, how they take it in and how they give it. And it's so bound in the entirety of who it is that we are, through the lens of our being human in any given space. Linguistically, it's the way I comprehend, communicate, and express, and it's so deeply tied to that sociocultural dimension, because my first words are going to be the words of love. My first words are going to be laughter. My first words are going to represent the life that surrounds me. And it is this that I, as an art teacher, want to elicit from my learners. I want to understand my learners in the way that they come to know and think and apply based on that sociocultural dimension, based on those experiences. Yes, I'm teaching art. Yes, I'm teaching techniques. Yes, I'm teaching shadowing and I'm teaching different artists. But at the same time, I am getting to know what your interpretation of that art is, what your interpretation of what I'm presenting is. What pathways does it take? Because everyone's pathways, especially in art, will be different. Ultimately, I think of art as opening the doors to engagement, to providing access to the learner who may not have the linguistic repertoire quite yet to be able to engage. And it is through art that we find hope in what it is that we're doing. And so think about art. Think about yourself as an art teacher. Think about your potential. Think about your superpowers. Think about those things that you're doing that make a difference in the world. And what is it that you will do post COVID-19, post these crises that are surrounding our conversations today? And how will you move forward so that the new academic year, whatever context it might take, whether it might be online, whether it might be face-to-face, How will you work with that sociocultural development so that you move the learner forward in expressing themselves through art? How will you work with other teachers in the classroom to say, work in art has healing power. It's about feelings, it's about expression, it's about connection making. It is about looking at what it is that I bring to the space and being able to represent it through multiple ways. And so, oops, well, it doesn't want to, oops, there we go. So I always like to say that in the space that we have in school, we teach through both the official space, but it's the unofficial space that helps us in creation of a third space. And I wish we had more time to talk about the third space and what it would look like in art, but I encourage you to go out and look at Christine Gutierrez's work on third space that talks about the potential we have when we meet the learner and the family halfway, and we create these possibilities that look a little bit different, because it's through our expertise and the students' expertise that we create something new, and in art it's no different. I want to say that I know I've been talking way too much, and I'm hoping that right now you're chatting with one another, that you're finding that power within, that you're asking, where does the biography of the learner fit in for me as a teacher? I want you to think about being the light that shines brighter in this world. Oftentimes, we get so fast-paced in our very complex world of schooling that the art teacher is seen as someone who is amazing and wonderful and we love having in the school, and yet it's considered as specials where I send my student. Think about this next year, going a little bit deeper. Look at Dr. Harlow's work, Trina Harlow, on biopsychosocial history and the I am opportunities that we can create through art and through connection with English as a second language teachers, with special ed teachers, with grade level and content teachers, and begin to explore how you could be the impetus of looking for a new pathway for healing the socio-emotional aspects of the learner. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. So in biography-driven instruction, we like to think that regardless of content area, and I keep saying we because it is a whole team of us that works with biography-driven instruction. So we like to think that it's the opportunities that we create for the learner as they are expressing themselves to activate, connect, and affirm. In what ways are those conditions set by us as teachers that we allow for those opportunities for students to both be communicative and cognitive and culturally responsive, so that when we set up those conditions, we address the learner's potential by combining language development and art development, drawing on their sociocultural, linguistic, cognitive, and academic resources. So it's when we do this, we open, we work, and we close with the expectation of saying to the learner, we all have potential. And we provide the tools so that we know that the learner, that their state of mind is being addressed. So I ask you to pose this question, and unfortunately we can't stop like right in the middle because this is not live, but put it into the chat. Put out a statement, a comment. When you ask the question, in what ways can I utilize art while working with my own community of learners? So I like to say we must begin to see the possibilities through the lens of biography and art and make those adjustments as we work. And now this is my favorite part. I don't even know how long I've been going, but I know it, it goes the time goes very quickly. But I want to show you some representations of family and how it is that some of the students that we have been working with have represented, and I chose quotes to represent each of the pictures that I'm going to show you. And I want you to think about everything I've been saying about biography and all of that. So a work of art is a world in itself reflecting senses and emotions of the artist's world. And so oftentimes in art classrooms, you have the teachers who provide these open spaces of opportunity. And then we have art teachers that are paint by number, and not literally, but where everyone's has to look the same. And so look at this teacher's response by different families and their students in representing what family meant to them. And ask yourself, how is this representative of the biography, and how does this represent language and art coming together? Well, oops. So I feel, I see, I think art speaks to the soul of its culture. When I look at this picture and I see the flowers, I think of quinceañeras. I think of my father's rose gardens. I think of how connected my family was to life in nature. And it's so representative of this particular family and how it is that they interpreted the assignment of putting together their family tree. Think of your family tree. How are your children's family trees being asked to be represented? Are they open enough that through art, the student can represent? Growing on connection at a time, one connection at a time. I have a misspelled word up there. So art has the power to transform, illuminate, to educate, inspire, and motivate. Here's another family tree. Again, represented very much through the family. There's so much that we can tell. There's so many questions that we can ask. There's so much that we can enter into a conversation about the materials. I think about my own home and foil, and how we used foil for everything. And so we could get into a whole conversation, but like I said, we have 20 minutes and I think I'm getting pretty close. I should have timed myself. Let me see if we can go to the next one. This computer, oh, there we go. Look at me, I have a different point of view. I'm gonna read Andrew Nelson's little quote and think about what it is that we see within the three pictures that we've seen representing family. Art is simply a result of expression during right feelings. It is a result of a grip on the fundamentals of nature, the spirit of life, the constructive force, the secret of growth, a real understanding of the relative importance of things, order, balance. Any material will do. After all, the object is not to make art, but to be in the wonderful state which makes art inevitable. And as I looked at the house from the Somali family, as I looked at the flowers from the Mexican family, as I look at this tree from the Guatemalan family, I appreciate the teachers who didn't provide one way of representation, but through art, learned so much about the family, provided that opportunity to activate, connect, and affirm the potential of every child to take the materials that were within their fingertips and represented for others in the classroom. It's only when we are no longer fearful that we begin to create. And so whether we're in elementary, middle, or high school, as art teachers, we have the potential to provide students the tools to let go of fear, to let go of that fear and to create, to understand that learning is derived from action in the classroom, that learning is not a worksheet, that learning is not filling in the blanks, that learning is about communicating and expressing and making meaning and finding what's relevant to us, and then aligning it to those things that keep us moving one step beyond. So this is one of my favorite little cartoons, and I think it's a good way to culminate today. It says, as my artist statement explains, my work is utterly incomprehensible and is therefore full of deep significance. And so oftentimes how don't we look at some child's artwork and we're like, okay, what were you thinking? And then we enter into that dialogue and we find that the child had so much to say and that we can link the language to the visual representation. I am going to provide for the team that invited me to speak, and I'll send it to Dr. Trina Harlow, and then she can pass it on. I'm going to send you a strategy that's called linking language, that is about visual representation and induction to word language development, words, vocabulary, and then moving it out even to a space of reading comprehension and art comprehension. And so I'll share that activity with you. I couldn't decide whether to go with the linking language or whether to go with a representation of art through family and how families take materials that are found at home and represent, and how powerful that can be. I wish I had more than 20 minutes and I could have told you the story for each of them, of the houses, but I'm going to I'm going to just go through why, I'm going to conclude today for us in talking about why it is that we teach, and reminding ourselves what power art has and what power and superpowers we have as teachers as we enter into this new academic year with so many unknowns. So why is it that we even became teachers? I always like to say, and these have been compiled over the course of my career, as I conduct workshops in schools, I always ask, why do you teach? Because no 2 days are ever the same, because it gives us hope, and at this time and space we are definitely in need of hope, because we have a passion for social justice, and social justice is necessary in order to continue with our democracy and continue being productive citizens, because we believe in caring and empowerment, because we love building community, because kids help us think beyond, because we have a mission, because we are risk takers, because we know what is possible, but ultimately because we are about human relationships. And nowhere, like in the art classroom, do I find that these 10 statements hold true. Opportunities for social justice, to be risk takers, to think beyond, to form relationships are at the core of what it means to be an art teacher. You have such an exciting year before you. So much that you're going to be able to produce that'll open up the windows and the doors and the pathways for all learners through the use of art and what art makes possible in our classrooms. I'd like to conclude with this quote from Dr. Trina Harlow, who has taught me so much about art. This comes from her dissertation, which I'm hoping very quickly becomes a published book because it's very much needed out in the field. From the beginning of time, human beings have used the arts for communication, so much so that in modern times, the arts are called humanities. The unique attributes of verbal, visual, and vervisual, a combination of the verbal and the visual communication, allows mankind to gain understanding of that which they seek to solve. There is much to solve today in this world. Think about, what is your role in moving the conversation forward, in understanding the biography of every learner, and in creating those spaces in your art classrooms where anything and everything is possible. Thank you for being with me. I know that I went through this very quickly. I'm hoping that the bathing had something stick. Con mucho cariño y amor, gracias por estar conmigo. Thank you for being with me today.